Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for expecting not to have to pay for Thanksgiving groceries? I, 54F, have been invited by a friend, 50F, who I will call on, to come to her house for Thanksgiving. We all live in Italy, but spent many years in the USA, and have several American friends in the area. And heard that I make a traditional Thanksgiving dinner at my house every year for my family and a couple friends, 6 people total. It is quite difficult to get all of the supplies here, no buying canned pumpkin or cranberry sauce, so I make every single thing from scratch. Over the years, I've also acquired all the dishes and tools and spices, no suppliers for the more exotic things, and am an all-around good cook. So Anne, who was born in China but lived in the USA for 20+ years, asked if I would come to her beautiful, and much bigger, home, and teach her how to make the whole dinner. For a group of 12 people instead of the usual 6. I was hesitant at first, because we live a very modest lifestyle, and Anne and her British husband are very well off, but I figured it would still be fun, and I would enjoy putting on the feast for new people and in a beautiful kitchen. After I agreed, the problems began. First, Anne wanted to have the dinner on a day that isn't Thanksgiving, to make it more convenient. I decided it wasn't all that important, since we live in Italy. So it is scheduled for the Sunday prior to the actual day. Then when we were planning to meet to go shopping for all the ingredients, she asked if I could do all the shopping and she would reimburse me for her half. I asked what she meant, and she said that I'd be paying for half of everything. So not only would I be doing all the shopping, all the planning, all the cooking and teaching her as well, but now I'm expected to pay for the food? I told her I could not do this, we really don't have the budget, so now she's trying to alter the menu she agreed to: turkey and fixings, candied yams, roasted veggies, an appetizer, and pie. Really a modest dinner by American standards. She then made a comment that her friends don't eat like pigs. She then went to another guest with my recipes and asked her to prepare my pumpkin pie so she didn't have to buy the ingredients. Bear in mind, Anne and her husband are very wealthy. I'd estimate the whole dinner for 12 might cost €200 for the ingredients, and my labor and gets for free. She thinks I'm being stubborn and ungenerous, i.e. an a-hole. My family thinks Anne is taking advantage of my kindness and her miserly ways are ridiculous, since she'd spend double that amount for lunch out on a whim. So am I the a-hole for refusing to contribute to the meal or be bullied into this nonsense? My family wants me to just bow out and tell her I'm not comfortable with her attitude. I'm tempted, because this feels toxic and manipulative. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like she just wants you to pay, and make the meal for her and her friends. She is most definitely taking advantage of your kindness and probably just wants you to cook for her. I wouldn't make the meal or pay for it if I were you. Opie replies. I absolutely won't be paying for a single thing. I don't expect to be paid for my time, as my family will be there too, 4 of us in total, so I was willing to make the meal. But I'm expected to pay for the privilege of planning and cooking a meal for 12? That seems ridiculous to me. My family is aghast at the nerve of her asking me to buy half the ingredients, to be honest. I just wanted outside opinions on if I'm being an a-hole since we'd be there eating the meal also. Not the a-hole. I can see how it would be fair to pay for half the groceries, since you do 6 people and this would be 12, if you were joint hosting. This does not sound like joint hosting, it sounds like Anne wants to get all the accolades while you do all the work. She wants you to teach her how to make the food. How much do you bet she'll ask you to show her and she'll just observe the process? And of the 12 guests that Anne wants, are 6 of them all the people you usually have or are more of them people she wants? If I were in this position I'd cancel on Anne and go back to doing your own dinner. Opie replies. 4 of the guests are me and my family, the rest are guests of Anne, although I know a couple of them and we are friends. They only said yes to the invite because they wanted to enjoy my Thanksgiving dinner which they'd heard rumors of, they both despise and but like her husband, so my cooking made it worth putting up with her. To be honest, I'm considering just canceling the dinner, and being eternally busy every time Anne asks for my time. She seems nice, but there's always an ulterior motive with her. My son says she acts like I'm her pet dancing monkey that she wants to perform tricks whenever it's convenient. I'm just very skilled at a lot of things she doesn't know how to do, so he might be right. I try to be kind, but this feels manipulative. Not the a-hole. Your mistake was sharing the recipes. This woman is not your friend. She wants you to pay for half the groceries for her dinner party in addition to cooking everything and sourcing all ingredients. At this point she would need to pay you the cost of a private chef to cook the dinner. OP replies. She asked for the recipes so she could compile a shopping list. To be honest, I don't give a damn if she wants to share them or try to make them herself. They're my recipes, some of them I wrote in 1986. They're hardly secret though, and I'd share them freely. There's more to them than basic instructions, so she'll have a difficult time having them come out right, without me showing her all the little tricks. Just in case anyone wants to know how to have a pumpkin pie crust come out perfect and never burn, after you bake the crust, put it in the freezer for 30 minutes before filing it and baking the pie. A semi-frozen crust will slow the edges getting brown so they don't burn. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to prioritize our family tradition over his new friendship? My husband, 35M, and I, 32F, have a very small but meaningful tradition we started the first year we got married. It's nothing major, but it's important to me. Every November, on the weekend before Thanksgiving, we take a day trip to this lakeside town about an hour away. We spend the day walking, talking, and picking out a new ornament for our Christmas tree, something that's meaningful to our year. It's just one day, but it's one of those things that makes the holiday season special for us. My husband recently became great friends with a guy from his gym. They hit it off quickly, and I think it's great because my husband doesn't make new friends easily. He seems like a genuinely nice person and shares a lot of his interests, like hiking and gaming, and I know it's refreshing for my husband to have someone he clicks with so well. Here's the issue. My husband's friend invited him to go on a weekend trip for the exact same weekend as our tradition. My husband seemed hesitant to bring it up at first, but eventually, he asked if I'd be okay with us rescheduling our tradition to another weekend so he could go on this weekend with his friend. I was caught off guard, and I told him that it kind of hurt my feelings that he'd even consider moving it. He told me it's not a big deal for us to just go another weekend, and he's right in the sense that it doesn't really affect anything logistically. But this trip has always felt like our thing. It's not that I don't want him to have fun or make new friends, but I kind of feel like he's minimizing something that's special to us, or at least special to me. When I told him that, he looked surprised and then frustrated, saying I was overreacting. He ended up agreeing to keep the weekend for our tradition, but I could tell he was disappointed, and I feel guilty for that. Part of me wonders if I'm being stubborn about a little ritual that maybe only I care about as much as I do. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to prioritize our tradition over his new friend? Update: I saw some people asking how long we have been married. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been doing this tradition since our first year together, always on the same weekend. Update 2: a lot of people have asked why this specific weekend matters so much to me. I think it's because we've kept this tradition on the same weekend for over 6 years, and to me, the timing feels like an integral part of the tradition itself. It's become a marker for the start of the holiday season in my mind, and changing it feels like losing some of the meaning behind it. Update 3: after a few hours, I want to thank everyone who shared their opinion. After reading the comments and giving myself some time to reflect, I decided to talk to my husband again. I told him I felt bad for how things went earlier and that I didn't mean to make him feel like I'm keeping him on a leash. I also explained why our little tradition feels so special to me and how I've always seen that weekend as our weekend. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much it meant to me. He said he'd been excited about the trip with his friend because it was the first time in a long while that someone reached out to him like that, and that he didn't want to let that slip away. We both agreed we could have handled the conversation better and that neither of us wanted the other to feel like their feelings didn't matter. As said earlier, we've decided to stick to our tradition this year as planned, and my husband is going to plan a weekend trip with his friend in January, when the holidays are over. Top comments. Info: while I think it's super nice your husband made a friend, he currently blinded by the honeymoon phase of friendship. Does he actually enjoys the trip or is he doing it because you want to do it? OP replies. He's kept the weekend open every year without me having to remind him, and we always have a great time. That said, he hasn't explicitly said how important it is to him or how much he enjoys it. I have expressed to him how much it means to me, though, so I'm guessing it may feel more significant to me than it does to him. That's part of why I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I've been assuming we were on the same page about it being our thing, without ever checking in with him about how he feels. I don't think you're necessarily an a-hole, but I do wonder why it feels so bad to move it. Like it seems like you are in a position where you can have the wonderful thing that you want, and you can support him in having something that he wants. It's not your anniversary, you both have the power to choose when this happens. He wasn't asking you to cancel the tradition. He just wanted to have both. If it were me personally, I don't think that I would be quite as upset about it, and I think that I would probably be happy to move it, given what you said about him having trouble making friends. Are you invited on this weekend away? Typically, in my relationships, I try not to treat situations as either or whenever both is possible. Often, in relationships, you really are forced to choose between two things that cannot coexist, both of which you want. In those moments, you have to make sacrifices. And when you make sacrifices, it's helpful to look back on all the wonderful times. So make as many wonderful times as possible, and be as generous as you in those moments where it doesn't hurt anybody. It helps you build up a bank of goodwill. No a-hole here, but I'd just let him go. Making friends as an adult is hard and sometimes takes a tiny sacrifice in your personal life to build that foundation. I think if you can see it from that perspective, you can enjoy your tradition on a different day and he can build a new friendship that could potentially last a lifetime. I understand initially being upset as it's sentimental, but I do think it's not as big of a deal as you viscerally felt. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my mom's boyfriend walk me down the aisle? I, 24F, am getting married next summer, and ever since I started planning the wedding, my mom, 48F, has been pushing for her boyfriend, 50M, to walk me down the aisle. My dad passed away when I was 10, and my mom started dating her boyfriend about 6 years ago. While he's always been nice to me, I've never seen him as a father figure. He came into my life when I was already an adult, and we're friendly but not particularly close. I told my mom that I planned to walk myself down the aisle as a way to honor my independence and my dad's memory. She got really upset, saying her boyfriend has earned the spot by being there for me all these years. She even accused me of disrespecting her relationship and trying to erase my dad, which couldn't be further from the truth. Now her boyfriend is avoiding me, and my mom keeps calling me selfish and saying I'm ruining the wedding before it even starts. A few family members are also weighing in, saying I should let him do it to keep the peace. But this is my wedding, and I feel like I should have the final say. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. If anyone is trying to erase your dad, it's her. You said you're 24, and this guy came into the picture about 6 years ago, which would have made you 18 at the time. You were an adult. He is literally nothing to you unless you say otherwise. He didn't raise you, he's just your mother's boyfriend. Not even her husband. Frankly, he should be happy to get an invite as anything other than your mother's +1. Opie replies. That's a really good point. He came into my life when I was already an adult, so he's never been more than my mom's boyfriend to me. I agree, just being invited should be enough without expecting more. Thank you for putting it so clearly. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my BFS aunt I could call the cops on her after she stole my Coachella ticket? I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years and have known his aunt throughout those years. We were actually pretty close. She now lives with his parents because she cheated on her husband. The new boyfriend now lives there too. We moved to an apartment but still get our items shipped to our parents since our place is sketchy. I had bought Coachella tickets and it was sent to his house. Well, 2 weeks before Coachella the person I was going to Coachella with got COVID and so we decided to sell our tickets. Only problem is, my ticket never came. We kept asking everyone who lived at the house for weeks if they had seen the package, to which they said no. We searched the living room and kitchen but nothing came up. A month prior to this his aunt had told his mom that she was selling Coachella tickets that her boyfriend had gotten from his niece. It never crossed my mind that this ticket was mine. I was starting to get stressed because the ticket was $600 and I was about to have to drive to the venue to pick up my ticket and go to the concert alone. The day before Coachella my BFS aunt confesses to her crime. Her boyfriend had stolen my ticket and had been trying to sell it off. His aunt tried to say she had no idea it was my ticket because the package had no name. This is a lie. Once I hear about it, I immediately start shaking and sobbing, feeling betrayed and that we stressed out over nothing. Since they probably already sold the ticket, I couldn't even go to Coachella. My boyfriend called his mom to tell her how effed up this is and his parents agree. She never apologizes, just kept up her lies and excuses. I was so fed up that I said, you know it's illegal to steal other people's mail, I could go to the police about this. This upset his aunt and I felt bad about this. My boyfriend said the right thing to do is for my aunt to send us the $600. We haven't talked about this incident since with them, but I know they talk crap about me to their whole family because that's what they do. When I go to his family parties, I just stay quiet and act friendly. I'm an extremely sensitive person, and the thing that hurt the most about this situation is that someone close to me could lie and betray me like that after seeing how stressed me and her nephew was. I feel like the a-hole because I've created a rift between him and his ex-favorite aunt. I still feel guilty. Did I overreact? Did I mess up his relationship with his family? Top comments. Definitely not the a-hole. The aunt owes you $600 and an actual apology. I thought she confessed anyway. Am I missing something? Opie replies. She never apologized. She confessed, but it was more like she said it had slipped her mind. She said she didn't know it was my ticket and played it off as a misunderstanding, but I knew she was lying because of her past actions. I couldn't get into it, but basically she lies quite a bit and always plays a victim, which is why I brought up that she cheated, because it definitely helps describe her character. I do feel bad for her in some aspects, and she's always been a great aunt to my boyfriend, which is why I feel guilty about everything. I felt like I blew it out of proportion. Not the a-hole. Tell them they owe you the ticket, the $600, or you'll file a police report. Opie replies. Thanks for the reply. I don't know if I could go far enough to report it. She said she would give me back the ticket but never did. His mom ended up paying the $600, which I also felt awful about. She said she would pay her back, but I don't know if that's true. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing in-laws to be present on Christmas morning while our kids open gifts? Me, 28F, and my husband, 27M, disagree on how we should handle Christmas mornings. For perspective, I am an only child. Christmas morning was always done at home with my parents, and after opening gifts, we'd head over to my grandparents to celebrate with them. They all still live local. My husband is the middle of three, and they often had family that lived out of state. So Christmas morning was sometimes at their home, sometimes at a grandparent's out of state, etc. We alternate our holidays between Christmas and Thanksgiving with our families. Before having kids, we'd stay with them for a week or long weekend over Christmas. After having kids, I want to be home for Christmas morning, and then spend the rest of the day with my family or his family depending on year. Our kids are still young, 2, 1, but it is still such a special moment for me, and I want it to be sacred and intimate amongst the four of us. We only get so many years of little kids on Christmas morning, and I want to soak up every single moment. His parents live 3 hours away and are having his siblings come the 22nd to 30th. No one else has kids yet. I told my husband that we should have our kids open up presents on Christmas morning, and then make the drive to their place shortly after. He is calling me selfish and inconsiderate of his parents' feelings because it would mean the world to them to watch the grandkids open presents from Santa. His mom has made comments in the past how Santa would always travel for them wherever they went, being passive-aggressive towards my feelings on it. We had the same argument last year. I told my husband that they had their turn with their own kids, and this is now about us and our children. I still want to see and celebrate with his family, but only after we have Christmas, just the four of us on that morning. Am I being unreasonable? TLDR, husband thinks we shouldn't exclude his family from watching the kids open presents on Christmas morning, and I want that moment to be intimate to the four of us only, then head to his family after. Edit. I would be totally fine if grandparents wanted to come here for Christmas, but they already made plans to host at their house with everyone, so we will be traveling to them regardless and staying with them for several days. I just requested that we watch the kids open presents from us in our home and experience Christmas morning just the four of us first before heading over to his parents. Kids will have presents to open at grandparents too. We all exchange gifts with extended family as well. Top comments. I had exactly this issue years ago when my children were small, but the grandparents with us were lovely. We opened our presents at home on Christmas morning, just us, and then traveled to grandparents where, surprise, surprise, Father Christmas had left more presents for them to open in front of the extended family. Win-win. Opie replies. That's exactly what I had in mind. But for some reason it's registering as being inconsiderate. Opie replies. No a-hole here. If grandparents offer presents, those can still lay in front of their chimney/stocking and be opened later at their place. They will, and that's exactly why I didn't think it'd be a big deal, because they'll still get to watch the kids open presents. It's just not first thing in the morning. Why can't it be both? The kids open gift from you and dad at home, and the gifts from grandparents at theirs? Opie replies. That's exactly what I suggested. My husband thinks it's inconsiderate to not allow the grandparents to see the kids actually wake up Christmas morning to see the presents under the tree. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.